Lotec is a weird brand. Similarly with Venturi, Lotec is known by most of the petrolheads, but not much is known about it, beside of course the fact that it built two crazy supercars with Mercedes engines in the 90s. Like most of the 90s no-name supercar makers, I quite like Lotec, since they managed to stand out from the crowd. This is something that could be said for all the failed 90s supercar makers, from Isdera Commendatore and the Bugatti EB110 to Lotec Sirius and Lister Storm. Maybe it was the engine, maybe it was the design, or maybe it was the technology. No matter what, everyone stood out. But at the same time, for the same reasons, like the rest of newcomers, Lotec failed to find success. So hello guys and welcome back to another video, and here is the story of Lotec. Everything started in 1962, when back then a 21-year-old Kurt Schmitke would open a small repair shop, mostly for Mercedes, which he called it Lotec, which was an abbreviation of the name Lothar Schmidt. Like many German mechanics of the time, not long after establishing his shop, Kurt started racing, and in 1969 he would build a car for the German Formula 5, which would be quite successful. Meanwhile, the business could continue to grow, and by 1975, Lotec has started offering fiberglass panels for the 911, making this way Lotec one of the first German exotic tuners. In 1981, Lotec built the M681, which was an open-top race car for the Interserie Championship. The car was a big step for Lotec, since it showed the devotion of the young team. The car featured a BMW M88 engine, which was a 3.5-liter straight-six engine. Thus, the name M681. 6 for the number of cylinders and 81 for the year that the car was going to make its debut. The power output was at over 420 horsepower, which was more than enough, since the M681 only weighed 620 kilos. This thanks to the aluminum tubular frame and the fiberglass body. The top speed was at over 280 km per hour, which made the M681 a competitive car. The M681 debuted at the fourth round of the 1981 season in Nürburgring. Lotec made a pretty good debut, placing third overall, but this triumph was short-lived, since the car started having mechanical problems. The M681 only entered 4 races, and Kurt refused to show up on the final race. The M681 evolved into the M1C, which this time was a closed-top car, and was built for the 1982 Group C. But like the M681, the M1C failed to achieve any success. And with both attempts failing to succeed, Lotec decided to switch its focus towards the growing market of tuning luxury cars. And one of their first projects was the Lotec Ambassador. The Ambassador is one of the most extreme W126s, since it hits all the points. First was the body kit. Differently from all the sporty body kits that most of the tuners used, Lotec went for a classic one, which looked like it was inspired from the British cars. And everything was changed here. The nose, the rear end, the side parts. The only part that would give it away that the car was based on a W126 was the C-pillar. The extreme changes continued inside, which had a similar style. The biggest change was the dashboard, which now was completely covered by wood, and also the gauge clusters were new. And compared to the other tuners, Lotec probably did the best job. The rear part featured all the luxury goodies of the time: TV, phone, a fax machine, etc. But the one thing that set them apart from the rest of the overpopulated crowd was the engine. Differently from all the others, Lotec also worked with the engine. This probably by your request, since the Ambassador was a specially built car for a Japanese bank director. Lotec twin turbocharged the 5.6-liter V8 engine, something very unique for the time, since those few tuners that did performance enhancement did it only by increasing the displacement. The power output was at 550 horsepower, while the torque at 520 pound-foot. After the W126, Lotec started working with the 201 and the 124. I have mentioned the 124 before on my video about the 124 tuners. Like with the 126, Lotec decided not to replace the engine, but instead decided to turbocharge the 3-liter straight-six engine of the 300E. The power was at 340 horsepower and the torque at 325 pound-foot, something that put the 300E turbo right up there with the V8 W124s from Brabus and AMG. The body kit was quite settled, like most of the 124s. The most interesting part was the spoiler, which now was part of the boot. A similar story goes for the 201, but differently from the older brother, the 201 used a 2.3-liter engine, which produced 300 horsepower, which was more than enough to reach 260 km per hour. Like in the case of the 300E turbo, the body kit of the 201 was quite simple. But Mercedes were just the beginning, and in the end they weren't as special. The cars that would really put Lotec in the map would come in the 90s. Some of the most popular conversions were the Porsche conversions. Lotec offered body kits and power upgrades for the 964, 993 and the 928. Both the 993 and the 964 had turbocharged engines. The 964 had 420 horsepower, while the 993 600 horsepower. This put them right up there with some of the best 911s of the time. Sadly, I couldn't find much information about these cars. The same thing goes for the 928. The 5-liter V8 was supercharged, increasing the power to 520 horsepower and the torque at 520 pound-foot of torque. The top speed was at 300 km per hour, while the acceleration time at 5.7 seconds. The body kit looks very similar with a Strosek 928 body kit. But while not much is known about the Lotec Porsches, this isn't the case for the rest of the Lotec cars, which almost all of them came in 1991. The first was the C1000. Now, street legal race cars are always amazing. The idea that you can daily drive a race car is so crazy, especially when they are Group C cars. And this was the case of the C1000. Everything started with a dream of owning the fastest road-going car. A sheikh requested Lotec to build such car, and he wanted the car to be built by using Mercedes parts. The design of the car is just stunning. Even if the C1000 was launched today for the first time, would still look very impressive. A number of different materials were used to build the C1000, like steel, aluminium, Kevlar and carbon fiber. Even though a number of cars had used carbon fiber by the time that the C1000 was introduced, it's still impressive to see such amazing shapes. The engine chosen by Lotec was the same 5.6-liter V8 as used on the Ambassador. Just this time a lot more work was done in order to reach the necessary numbers for the fastest car in the world. First, the engine was rebuilt by using AMG parts. Also, like on the Ambassador, Lotec packed the engine with a pair of turbos. Just this time they were bigger, together with the intercoolers. After the work was completed, the engine produced 1000 horsepower and 720 pound-foot of torque. This engine was connected to a 5-speed sequential gearbox, and as a result of all of this, the C1000 had an approximate top speed of 430 km per hour. I'm saying approximate top speed, since there were no tires to handle the power and the torque of this engine, so the power was reduced to 850 horsepower, and the top speed to 380 km per hour. Since it was a race car for the road, the interior had some luxury features, like leather seat and dashboard, air conditioning, hi-fi stereo system, and even a reversing camera. All this approximately costed $3.4 million, making the C1000 the most expensive car of the time. But since it is a special one-off, I don't think that counts. But from a 1000 horsepower car to another. Also in 1991, Lotec presented the Testadoro, which was built in collaboration with the legendary Italian designer Luigi Colani. Colani is one of the most underrated designers of all time, and I'm definitely going to make a video about him one day. Colani has a very unique style, and all his designs are inspired from nature, and all are designed with aerodynamics in mind. And the Testadoro was no exception from this. The car was based on a Testarossa, but the bodywork was transformed into a streamliner. But this was the part of Colani. Lotec, on the other side, had to work with the engine. Like on their previous project, Lotec decided to twin turbocharge the 12-cylinder boxer engine by using a pair of Garrett T4 turbochargers. And as a result, the power was increased to 1000 horsepower. Like previous Colani projects, the Testadoro was built to break records, but the car only reached a top speed of 351 km per hour, since the pilot had to stop the car in order to avoid a crash. But the weirdest part about the Testadoro is that 4 more examples were built. Like in the case of the T1000, Lotec had to reduce the power to 750 horsepower. The price for such a machine? 1 million Deutschmarks. But for those that couldn't afford the Testadoro, Lotec had another alternative for you. It was called TT1000. The TT1000 used the same powertrain as the Testadoro, and this helps the car to reach 100 in 4.8 seconds and to reach a top speed of 355 km per hour. But the coolest part about this car is definitely the body style. Now many Testarossa tuners were inspired by the F40, but no one came closer than Lotec. The car just looks so awesome, and with all the power underneath the plexiglass cover, is definitely an amazing machine. The final car of Lotec would come in 2001 and was named Sirius. Sirius was definitely a huge step for Lotec, since this time they were really trying to build a supercar of their own. The design is a bit questionable. Some people hate it, some people love it. Personally, I like how the Sirius looks unique, powerful and fast. And speaking about power and speed, Lotec decided to go again for a Mercedes engine. Originally, Lotec had planned to use a Porsche engine, but later they decided to go for the amazing Mercedes M120. By the time that the Sirius was introduced, the M120 had proven to be a great engine. A number of supercars like Isdera Commendatore, Mega Truck, MCA and most importantly Pagani Zonda had utilized the Mercedes V12. But the unique part of Sirius was that the engine was twin turbocharged, something that raised the power output to 1200 horsepower. Sirius was capable of reaching a top speed of 400 km per hour and to accelerate from 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. The price? 350,000 euros. Sadly, due to financial difficulties, only the prototype was ever built. Lotec has tried to enter the car to production many times, even with changes in the design, but nothing has worked. In 2007, Lotec presented the SL-R, which was basically a kit for the SL and SLK, which made the car to look like a McLaren SLR. This kit looks quite good and well built, and proven to be quite popular since more than 300 kits were sold. So guys, thank you for watching, see you next time.